Alright everybody, in this episode I'm going to be showing you how to extend your racket using an XTP butt cap to make it 27.5 inches. So I got this little thing here from Racket Depot in the UK. As you can see, I've already used it once for a decathlon Atanga racket, the exact same racket, but I had to get that one refunded because the grommets had some issue. So I got another decathlon racket. So I'm going to be extending this to make it to basically the same length as this 27.5 inch Wilson racket next to it. As you can see, it's actually some sort of difference between the length of all these rackets, right? Alright, so without further ado, let's get into it. So let's talk about the equipment that you're going to need. So obviously you need some tape measure. I've also got some other rulers and markers here just in case, and I'll show you why I need to do that in a minute later on. It's okay? Alright, so obviously you need this cap. You also need either some Gorilla Glue or staples. So I'm hoping to staple this racket on using these staples here and this staple gun. You're also going to need this. I'm not sure what this thing is called, but you need this to remove the actual existing staples from that decathlon racket. I'm just going to use decathlon Atanga interchangeably. Sorry about that. Alright, and last but not least, you need to have this in order to cut off the excess bit that's going to hang on to that Atanga racket. Right, let's retract this in just for safety purposes. Right, there's also one thing that I should mention as well. You should have some grips nearby, some over grips. Alright, so I'm going to remove this original grip from this racket. Alright, so I've removed this main grip of the racket. So when you get to about this stage, near the end, there will be a staple here, and you need to use your stapler remover to pluck this thing out. Alright, so now we're just going to remove the remaining staples. I'll just show you one of them. Right. It can be a bit tricky. So just stick this thing through. Careful, don't stab yourself like I just did there. So here I'm positioning my hands really far away from each other. So even if I do slip, I won't slip so far that I'll poke myself. Alright. There are only about 6 of these things. So make sure you hold your hand on top of this. Don't just dig it out like this, because then it'll go flying everywhere and probably could even hit you in the eye. So make sure you hold the top of this as you're pulling it out, like that. Right, so now that I've removed this original butt cap, I'm going to put the extended butt cap on. So when I just try to slide it on like this, it actually doesn't slide on that much. And that's because this shaft has this thing wrapped around it. I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but it has this thing that's wrapped around it. Right. It has an extra layer around it, which can actually be cut off. You can probably see it better from this angle. And let's measure out how long this thing is right now. Right, so it's currently sitting out even greater than 28 inches, and that's way too long. So since I have a tape measurer, I'm just going to measure out how long this racket is right now. Okay, and then I'm going to measure out how long this thing is. Then I'm going to add the total lengths. Add the total lengths, and then subtract the necessary amount required. Okay, by itself, this racket is 27 inches. It's hard to believe, I just removed the butt cap. But the thing is, this butt cap actually slides in quite a bit. So as itself, this racket is exactly 27 inches. As for this butt cap, it's about 2.25. Alright, so the length of this racket is 27 inches. The length of this XTP butt cap is 2.25 inches. And That means the total of this thing is 29.25 inches. We want the racket to be 27.625 inches. So that means we're going to have to cut 1.625 inches off from this racket in order to slide this thing in. So here we go. I'm using a pen. I'm going to mark out the line of this thing so I know how much exactly I need to cut. That side is fine. I'm going to flip it over. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's start cutting. What I'm going to do is actually make a little cut down the middle like this. Done. Okay, so that's gone. We're not using that anymore. Now I can slide this thing straight on. Now let's measure this thing out, see how long this is now. Okay, so that is exactly where we want it to be. It's about 27.6 inches. Alright, so one of the downsides of using this XTP buttcap racket is that a lot of people have said that this thing has a bit of a bump, and when you grip it, it's uncomfortable, that you notice that there's something uneven there. So the plan from offsetting this is actually to put a grip over this part, the non-XTP buttcap part. That should hopefully make it even. One over grip should do the trick. So let's do that now. Okay, so this is the part where you have to be really careful. Now this will naturally pop up. And that means that you just need to hammer it down. These bumps are going to make it pretty uncomfortable for you to play with. So you have to hammer this thing down. Okay. Now I don't want to destroy the racket. Right, so that went in. Now we're going to do the exact same to the back. Okay. Okay, that went in pretty smoothly as well. So we've done two backs. Now we're going to do the sides. Actually, to reinforce it a bit, I like to put double the amount of staples required. You could potentially get away with 6 staples, but I want to put probably 12 just for security. Alright, so I've put 2 over grips on. Well, this grip is actually just Scotch tape. I put one main grip on, I pinched that one from the head micro gel racket. Then this next one is just Scotch tape, and finally I'm just putting on this over grip. And after this I'll be done. Yeah, there you have it. 27.5 inch racket. Seems pretty stable.